Blog Talk Radio.
Hey guys, it's those guys with your host Matt Marrero along with the other host
Doug Dimmadome, owner of the Dimsdale Thunderdome.
Goddamn. I just told you that as a joke. No, but I love it. You have to understand, everybody. Sometimes Tristan and I, we call in a little early, we get in the chat room a little bit, and we're just talking about stuff. We don't really pre-plan our jokes a lot, but sometimes I'll say something funny and then it might come up like an hour and a half later. Sometimes it doesn't, right? Sometimes I actually hate saying things to you before we begin the show. By the way, if you guys don't know, I'm Matt Marrero, that's Tristan Walter, and we're doing another Friday Night Movies. But the
Please,
point
Matt,
is that...
Tell me why you hate telling me things before movies. I would like to know.
Because I'll forget to say it later. My brain will register it as said. And then we'll end the podcast and I'll be like, yeah, wasn't it funny when I brought up Walter? But anyway, so today we're talking about the third Mad Max movie called Mad Max Beyond the Thunderdome. Cue thunder and shit. Thunderbolts and lightning, very, very frightening.
Honestly, not gonna lie, I expected more Thunderdome.
Yeah, okay, so I haven't seen the trailers for this movie for once, but I have a strange feeling that the trailers were probably a lot better and campier than this movie. Nothing against the movie, although, we both have our complaints. This one, it's funny. We didn't hate this, but I think we're going to probably put this one down a lot more than we have the first two. And I know the first two we've had our issues with it, but I think there's something about this movie that isn't bad. It just feels off. And you mentioned to me before we began the podcast, you said the word weaker, and I agree with you 100%. Now, we're not going to be sitting here, just giving each other high fives like, I agree with you. No, I agree with you harder. I'm sure it's going to, because we haven't talked about this movie at all other than that one Dimmadome joke.
No, I mean, people, you're going to call me out on my jokes now? Okay. Two people enter the podcast. Only one caster exits.
We have to talk. You have to talk to each other. That's all it is. But for some reason, they still incorporate the goddamn aerobatics. By the way, I have to say, that dome was actually my favorite part of the entire movie, and I have a feeling that's not only, because of the fact, so the reason why I told you that joke earlier with the Doug Dimmadome thing is because I didn't know this. Apparently, this movie made the phrase Thunderdome, or the dome, of course, very popular in pop culture. Now, yes, of course, we had Spartans battling it out. It's not as if we've never had, coliseums or, in the 80s, of course, there was pro wrestling. There were cage matches. There weren't Hell in a Cells yet or elimination chambers, but there were cage matches, of course, right? I'm pretty sure cage matches at this point have been going on for, 20 years? Because this movie came out in 85. So I'm pretty sure in WWE cage matches have been going on for 20 years, not only in WWF, but also just in general. So it's not like, the idea of a dome necessarily was new, but calling it the Thunderdome. And I don't know about you, but I didn't even think, when I heard the phrase Thunderdome, I heard, the announcer with, a thunder crash or, a lightning, crash of, the Thunderdome.
Right, yeah. Lightning in the background, people screaming and yelling. And
yeah, and that's the interesting thing about this, right, is that even though I guess that stuff came in other films, we have to acknowledge that, while there is some stuff that we have some problems with, this movie, just like when I mentioned when we were talking about the first one and we were making jokes about JoJo's Bizarre Adventure and Fist of the North Star, it's interesting how, movies like this inspire everything else, and then everything else becomes so popular that in a way it might actually end up overshadowing the movie itself. And I only say that because of the fact that, you look at some, and I think we talked about this, we must have talked about it once while doing Mad Max 1, 2, or 3. But when we talked about Matrix versus Ghost in the Shell, right? Ghost in the Shell, popular in Japan, popular among anime fans, came over to the West a while ago, but only recently did it come over in live-action movie form. And even putting aside the controversy with Scarlett Johansson, it still probably would not have done well based around the fact that people might look at a few of the things going on in Ghost in the Shell and go, yeah, I remember The Matrix. And it's like, you misunderstand, you fool. The Wachowskis watched. The Wachowskis like anime. You misunderstand. Right. Yeah. So in this case, when we see what is inspired, what this movie has inspired, in a way it feels like, at least with this specific movie, that some of this is old hat, despite the fact that it's not. At the time it was not old hat. At the time it was different. But I will admit, though, there was something about this movie that felt a little bit cleaner than the second one. And I don't know what it is exactly, but there was something about this film. And it's funny I say cleaner as there was more pig shit in this film than in both films combined. But
you're the king of shit. And not shit, energy. You can call it what you want, but you're still wallowing around in pig shit at the end of the day. Shut up!
That fucking killed me.
God.
Yeah. The comedy in this thing was top tier. I got to admit, the comedy in this movie was really good. But do you understand what I mean when I say sanitized, or not exactly?
Yeah, I mean, it felt a little less brutal.
Now, in some respects, like when it comes to rape, super happy that there was none of that in this movie. I'm good there. I'm super good there, right?
Yeah.
However, when it comes to, when you use the word brutality, yes, a kid did die, to be fair.
Right.
But there is some,
that was against the Sarlacc pit.
Yes. And then also, I mean, it was what it is. I'm not going to say it wasn't, Tristan. It is what it is. And then what's his face? I think, he's literally named Pig Killer.
Right. Yeah.
That's what he's listed as in the credits.
Oh my God.
When he got stabbed in the leg, I was like, oh fuck, he's dead.
Yeah.
I'm happy he didn't die.
No, I know, but like that's what it always feels like when somebody gets stabbed in one of these movies, unless it's Max. It feels like, ooh, like you have been injured. This world is very unforgiving to the injured. You're probably not making out of your life.
The counting killed me. All right, we'll count to 3. 1, rips it out.
You never got to 2.
Yeah. No, he's like, what happened to 2?
Oh, man.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good tactic because, of course, it's like I'm prepped for that. It's like, no, get him.
Right.
Right,
it takes your mind off it for a few seconds.
But, so I have, and it's funny, too, because I have no problem with the characters necessarily. And so, like, I love Tina Turner's character that she played. My problem is her acting, but not so much her character.
Right.
By the way, if you don't know, that was Tina Turner.
Yeah.
Yeah. And she also sang the songs that came up at the end, like Don't Need a Hero.
Yeah, right.
By the way, fucking brilliant, amazing voice. And I know, like, some people are like, we know, Matt. Like, we are fully aware. No, but I don't really listen to much of her music, so, like, I hear, her voice, and I'm like, oh, well, obviously, there's a reason why everyone loves Tina Turner. But at the same time, when it comes to her acting ability, it didn't, like, how in some cases it's like, oh, she didn't act well, but it was like a campy not well. Have you ever seen a movie that way, where, like, it wasn't good, but it was campy good, like, in terms of acting or something like that? Because she didn't do that, is what I'm saying.
Okay.
Okay, so maybe, even though it's bad, I would argue, something like The Room, it could still be funny. Like, you could still laugh at that necessarily, or you can still point at things. Now, she didn't remind me of The Room. She didn't remind me of The Room. Well, because I can't think of anything else that you would, I don't know, like, there's just certain movies that they have a campiness to it. Doesn't necessarily mean that it's terrible. It's just that there's a campiness, like Rocky Horror Picture Show. You haven't seen that one, have you?
Nope.
Go fuck yourself. But anyway, I think I said that last time to you too, actually. But no, I mean, like, or tokusatsu in general. There's a campiness in toku.
Okay.
With, like...
All right. I see what you mean.
Yeah. Her performance didn't come off as camp. That's the thing. Like, it just came off as she was trying to remember her lines. Now, of course, you could say to me, Matt, are you a better actor? No, I'm not saying I am. I'm just saying that there was something about other people in the film that they didn't come off, I don't know. It's hard to explain. Like, when she's talking to Max, it just, something fell off with her. Like, either she was trying to remember her lines or she was really trying to spit them out. And it just didn't feel right. Now, her look, like the character's look, and the fact that her character exists, I love it. I'm so happy to see a woman in power in this wasteland. But and it sucks, too, because apparently they were trying to write the role for Turner, so they were actually really excited that she even agreed.
Right.
So it was literally written with her in mind. So there's nothing wrong with her being in power. It's just just something about her, like the way she spoke. It was just, I don't know. Maybe it was because she was trying to do Subdued, or they wanted to do something different where they didn't want her to be cartoonishly bad like other Max villains. But the problem is that's what we like about Max as well, when people are cartoonishly...
Usually the villains are so over the top. Yeah.
Yeah, and she looks like that, but she's very subdued.
Granted, the costume fit the bill of being over the top.
Yeah. Also, of course, Master Blaster was a great design, like the suit and everything. What I do like though about the film is that it definitely, even though I still feel like there were some issues with it, Max definitely felt like Max.
Yeah.
And there was a bit more wisecracking, I'll admit, but when I say Max felt like Max, it felt like, he's a man who he makes deals, he'll kill if he has to, sure. It's not like he's against killing. After the first one, we can clearly tell that, after that first one, we can clearly tell that he threw killing out the window. He's not law guy anymore.
He's not. Well, I mean, it's weird. He's kind of more, instead of lawful good, he's more chaotic good.
But he has a code, that's the thing.
Yeah. He still has a code. Like, he's not out for blood unless you give him a reason.
Right, but even then, of course, he's not going to sit there and be like, oh, screw these people or screw these kids if they're good people. And that's the thing.
Right.
So when he sees that Blaster is mentally challenged, he's like, all right, I'm not fucking doing this. Like, he was just fighting me because he thought, he was fighting me because he was told to.
He was told to, right. He was ordered to.
He was ordered to, and I assume he was friends with Master, before everything went to shit.
It felt like, it almost felt like Master, the character Master was, a father figure almost to him. Like, you looked after him, that kind of idea. Like, he was using his physique to his advantage, but at the same time, I feel like he still sort of treated him well.
Yeah, no, I felt like a situation, kind of like a Mice and Men situation.
Yeah, like you scratch my back, I'll scratch yours. I'm the brains, you're the bronze, and together we can make it out of this.
Yeah, but I assume he put the helmet over him to make him look more menacing, so that it wasn't like, hi, how's it going? I'm Blaster, and it's like, fuck, no, put the helmet on. Dude, put the helmet on. So,
we need you to be intimidating to the max.
Yeah, and you are adorable. And he hugs him. Because it clearly felt, it felt like once because here's the thing too, right? It felt like this, because this is what it is about this movie that I have maybe some issues with, I think. They wanted to have a bit more depth, but the issue is, I think, is that the movie never delivered on that depth, sort of. Now, obviously, we can't take a huge break to hear about backstories, and also that would cost money.
Right.
But when I say that, I mean, okay, so we have Blaster die, which fucking was terrible.
Yeah.
I hated that, but I was like, but again, but here's the thing, right? So that's supposed to solidify, okay, he's actually, like, Max, clearly these are the bad guys. Like, Auntie is a bad guy. Yeah, they're the
Auntie
bad guys
is the
now.
bad guy.
Now,
yeah, because I thought for a while there, like, Master was going to turn it around, and it's like they were going to be the bad guys, and it's like, no, they're actually just trying to survive.
Yeah, like Master is a dick, but that doesn't mean that you fucking kill his friend. and bring him down to hungry pigs. Like you can be a dick, but holy shit. Right? Like, even Auntie was like, pull him up. Look, are we going to fucking, like, why are we torturing this dude? Like, are we going to kill him or are we going to not?
I told you we need him alive. Stop fucking around and heed my orders. We need him to run the system.
Yeah. But here's the thing, right? By the time, like, as the movie goes on, though, while, yes, you're correct. Oh, they're just trying to survive. But it still doesn't feel like Master is necessarily a good guy. So, like, yes, of course, you could say Max wanted to free him because it's like, hey, now that Blaster's dead, what is this guy going to do? Like, he's not, like, he's brains, but it's not like he's going to, like, there's no atom bombs anymore. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's no, ammunition is scarce. What the fuck is this guy going to do without Blaster?
I felt like the idea was Max was going back for Master to help the kids. Like, he's obviously intelligible. He can help these kids out and actually build a permanent, like, settlement in the canyon where there's plenty of water.
Also,
like, I love how he was trying to tell the kids, it's like, no, seriously, you want to stay here. There's water. Yeah.
No, it's And the thing too with the kids also was very sad. Like, holy shit, those fucking kids, man.
Yeah, and it was kind of a turn. I wasn't like, it kind of felt we went from one plot of a movie to another plot of a movie.
Yes,
but not too much that it was like, okay, it felt like these could have been two different movies. I wouldn't say it was that much. But it was enough that it was like, so how are we connecting these?
No, the Wonder Twins with My Powers Combined. It felt that way, but with scripts.
Right. Yeah.
Because when you say two different movies, I would go farther. I would say it does feel like two different movies, but two different Mad Max movies. They're still Max movies.
Right.
But it feels like you could have cut them off as like two television specials.
Right.
Okay, like it felt like it would be perfect to cut it off to air on TV, sort of, because it took a while, if I remember, for him to actually get into the Thunderdome and then to get outcast. And then once he's outcast, it's like, tune in next week. Will Max survive?
Yeah.
Will Ken survive?
Yeah. Oh, my God. That's what made me laugh really hard, because I was like, when they do the spin the wheel thing, it's like, oh, what are they going to do? I'm like, for you guys, you better hope it lands on death, because if it's anything else, Max is going to come back and kick the crap out of you. And it's like, all right, we send him out into the desert, hogtied on the back of a horse. I'm like, you literally found him out there. That's where he was before. I mean, granted, yes, the idea is, like, die out in the desert because he doesn't have any supplies with him, and anyone would. But it's like, of all the things, it's like, you kind of want to make sure this man is dead and does not come back by any means.
Max just shows up again. Spin my wheel. They all say death. They do. Shoot him.
Yeah, right?
But, it was really funny, though, yeah, because it's just like, we'll exile him. It's like, you're tying me to the back of a horse. I am. You could have just said death. We could have. Just sends them off.
But the wheel, but justice is a flip of the coin, is a roll of the dice. Oh, Lordy.
By the way, I loved the political angle, sort of, and people are going to be like, what do you mean politics? And it's like, hold on there, guys. Let me explain.
The idea of keeping a civilization together, or what they dub a civilization.
But with two things. One, the dome to try to get out aggression. Like, why are we going to have war? We have the dome. So we have any issues, we have the dome. People will watch people fight to the death in the dome, and then they won't, like, stab each other unless there's some real shit going down, right?
Right.
So it's like, it kind of keeps that down.
The idea is, yeah, there's no longer any argument after that. It's like the argument dies with one of you.
Yes. And two, the chanting, where out of nowhere they started. But the thing is, it all rhymed. And actually, it might seem silly to some people out there, but actually rhyming stuff and chanting like that can actually, get crowds excited. That's why you have, like...
Yeah, it's deep-seated.
Yeah, it's deep-seated, so it's just kind of funny how it's just, oh God, what was it? When Auntie said something about, make a deal, spin the wheel. Make a deal, spin the wheel. Or break a deal, spin the wheel. It's just little stuff that they kept on chanting about, just in general, that it was really funny how it just got everyone riled up to the point where it's like two people or someone's like trying to start the chant and the rest of them are like, yeah, I'm chanting with the rest of you. Granted, at this
point,
group
mentality.
At this point in the apocalypse, it makes sense because none of them are full. All of them are hungry in some way or another. Like all of them are. There's no one there that's like, you know what? Yeah, no, I had really good. I had good filet mignon today. Everyone there is at least a little bit hungry. So they're like fucking chanting. Oh God, one thing I wanted to mention as well. Just talking about the dome in general, though. I do think the dome might have been the best part of the movie. How do you feel?
It's funny. I did enjoy the dome, and I guess it is, but I feel like okay. I think the funny thing about the dome is I was expecting there to be more than one fight, but I think it's because the whole idea of seeing, the dome in pop culture, nowadays there are more fights than one.
Or it gets put towards the end of the movie, potentially.
Yeah. I was expecting the dome to be like the big thing. So when it was just the one fight and they, and Master and Blaster are not the big villains, I was like, oh, well, crap. So, I liked the, because we have to have a car chase scene and fights on cars because it's Mad Max. We have to have that.
Every car should have had its own little mini Thunderdome. And Max should have just been going through every... No.
He jumps from car to car, fights a cage death match, wins, and jumps to the next car. There you go.
I gotta say,
oh my God.
I normally don't like car scenes in movies, but if it's not in Mad Max, it's not Mad Max.
Right.
That's my thing. So I was actually interested that it took so long. I was wondering, are we going to go without cars? Because, when Max came in the beginning, it's like his shit was stolen, which was hilarious. By the way, did you catch the cameo from the actor? The one that played the dad that, flew the plane?
Yeah, I was thinking to myself the whole movie, it's like, isn't that the same character? But I think he was playing a different character.
Here's what happened. This is his story. He goes, so I randomly get a call, and they tell me, let me find the exact, because I want to get it 1-to-1, because it was fucking hilarious. Right. Basically, they were having a hard time casting the character. So what ended up happening was, let me see right here, boop-a-doop-a-doop-a-doop, where is it? Come on now. By the way, as I'm looking for this, the Thunderdome thing, it really did feel like, by the way, it started off poorly, I have to be honest. I know they were trying to feel everything out, but when it first started out, I was like, I'm not that into the Thunderdome. But then when they really started using the ropes to their, or the whatever you want to call it, to their advantage, and then they were able to get some of the weapons and also throw themselves into the dome, sides of the dome, I was super invested in the Thunderdome. I was like, I never want them to leave.
Yeah, right.
But in the beginning, I was like, I don't think it's living up to its name. I would like to get beyond the Thunderdome, actually.
Right.
Let's see here. I want to make sure I got this right. I don't remember the character's name, actually. Fuck, what was his name? Let's see. I think his name was Jedediah? Yes, Jedediah.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, so here's the thing, right? So here it is. So Bruce Spence is the guy's name. So it written here on Wikipedia, Spence previously played the Gyro Captain in Mad Max 2. And then Spence says, they were well into the shoot when they offered me a part described as not the Gyro Captain, but kind of like the Gyro Captain.
Oh, my God. That's perfect.
They said This is a quote. They said there's kind of a reflection of him and that they were having difficulty casting the role, so they thought to themselves, why not Bruce?
That's fucking hilarious.
It's just, could you imagine? He's not the gyro captain, but he's kind of the gyro captain. It's just great.
Like, when the movie starts off and it's him swooping down on Max and stealing his caravan, I'm like, okay. I'm like, at first, all right, obviously he wouldn't have known it was Max. But, like, as soon as I thought for sure they kind of saw each other in town, I thought they would have been like, he would have been like, hey, Max, how you doing? You're alive. It's like, you stole my caravan. Right. Sorry about that. Let me see what I can do.
That would have actually been hilarious, but I thought Gyro Captain wouldn't he have to been like, because I thought Gyro Captain went off with the people in
from the refinery. Yeah, he did. Yeah,
okay.
He did.
Oh, so you have to be like, yeah, no, they all died horribly, man. Anyway, how you doing?
I thought they were like he was gonna find them in the canyon. When I started seeing the kids, I'm like, oh, wait, is that one of the kids from the second movie? And then it wasn't. I was like, oh God, wait, what's going on here? Oh, God, this is a completely different group of kids. What the fuck?
Yeah, the one thing I'll say that I do like about these movies, it's funny, I do and I don't. I like that the movies mostly, even though Max is the central part of all three movies, they're so separate from each other that if one of them came on TV, you don't have to remember the other movie to know what's going on.
Right.
And the only reason why I say that is because while I love continuity nowadays, it is a little frustrating that if I'm watching a Marvel movie, I'm like, fuck, did I watch the other 16? And someone will go, Matt, please stop.
Everything has to have continuity these days. Like, you can't just have a self-contained story anymore. It has to be part of so many others.
Yeah, and I know someone will tell me, Matt, please stop. Come on, you don't have to watch. There's, like, Black Panther. You only need to watch Black Panther. And it's like, technically you do, but there is a character, to both characters, both Black Panther and the one character played by Martin Freeman. They both appeared in in Winter Soldier, or it might have been Civil War, actually. No, it was Civil War, my bad. They both appeared in Civil War because it was a scene at the embassy when there was an explosion and then Black Panther's holding his dad who died. So, like, yeah, you can watch Black Panther and just know that his dad isn't around anymore. But to know why, go watch that other movie that he cameoed in, which, by the way, I'm not saying I dislike those cameos. I really do, actually. Seeing Paul Rudd in Civil War, even though I didn't see Ant-Man, was fucking hilarious because I knew that he was Ant-Man, so him just coming out of the back of a fucking van was really funny to me. Like, it's like, I get it, but at the same time, it's like, oh, how do I know why Paul Rudd's, Ant-Man? Well, go watch that other movie. It's like, oh, Jesus, okay. It's a lot of work. It's fun. But in the case of Mad Max, it's just nice that if one of them was on cable back in the day when you were a kid, not you and I, but, back in the 80s when, some people who are a little bit older than us were kids watching, TBS or whatever else, they could just see Mad Max with poorly dubbed, not even poorly dubbed English audio, because Mad Max 2 and 3, if you remember, they didn't get, quote-unquote, an English dub with American actors. They didn't get that dub. But remember, though, Tristan, on cable, when they show movies like Mad Max or Die Hard, they can't curse.
Right.
So
yeah, I was going to say, I kind of laughed at the fact that, like, this one felt a bit more for the family because of all the children, but at the same time, it is certainly not a family movie. Because, really, I'm just reminded, even after he's with the kids, I think one of the older girls was like, the fuck are we doing in here? It smells like shit. And he's like, shut up.
The fuck was thrown in, like, smoothly. No, because it was the kid. No, but the kid later was like, it's a fucking stick up. If you move, you'll be dead meat. Sees all the cars. Right. It looks like we're all gonna be dead meat, and then runs away.
We're all dead meat. Dad, we're dead meat. Yeah, whatever, son.
Right? My God.
The kid literally runs out and starts the plane. I died.
I know. I love the phrase "I warned you" because it comes off as I will fly this plane, Dad. Seriously,
right.
Dad.
I will leave. You know, it's hilarious because I feel like he taught his son, like, if you can get out and I'm in a jam and it doesn't look like I'm going to make it, go for it, kid.
Yeah. No, I mean, it really does feel like that. But think about when this movie aired on TBS, where literally it's just like, all right, this is a stick up or some shit like that. Like they had to have like an actor try to not only sound like the kid or Max or the other kid or whoever else, not only try to sound like them, but then also put on an Australian accent so it didn't sound really fucking terrible.
Oh my God.
By the way, do you love how good Max is with kids? Like, he has one kid himself, and he's completely forgotten. Like, do you love how good he was with the kid? Like, granted, I'm not saying he, like, murdered any of them or anything. Like obviously, he tried to, he tried to save them with the Rancor pit.
Right.
Like, he tried to do everything he could. Like, he wasn't going to, like, let them all die. But I loved how when they're like, you're captain, you're the captain, Mark, you're going to fly us away. And he's just like, all right, look, Sydney, fucking leveled. All right? And your parents, all your parents, raped and murdered. In that order, probably.
Oh,
and it's just like,
God.
And it's just like, Jesus, Max, they're children.
Because that's the thing. He's still a realist. He's not a bad guy because he still tries to help people. Like, no matter what he does, no matter how gruff and, like, how alone he tries, like, he stays by himself. He doesn't stick in a group. But, like, when there's a group of people in trouble, I feel like there's just something in him. Like, that little piece of him that was still the lawman, he can't turn a blind eye. So, like, he's like, all right, look. Because when the kids go out into the desert, he could have been like, I feel like Max from, like, the second movie would have, like, really weighed his options. Like, in this one, it feels like he's just a little bit older, and he's like, all right, I'll go get them. But, like, 2 would have been like, how far do you think they got out into the desert? They're probably dead by now.
Well, it's funny. I think it was because, you're right. I think it might have just, also I think it's because he found a good place. Like, in the second one, he was still running around.
Yeah,
so in the second one, it was still, it was very much like, look, guys, I know you think this is a good place, but it's not. In fact, all of you are going to get on with that again? Jesus, Max. Like, no, but seriously, it's like, y'all going to get murdered, so I'm going to fucking get out. It's like, how about we make a deal? And he's just like, oh, my God, fuck. Like, everything is about making a deal, which makes sense. By the way, how funny is it? How funny is it with our Friday night movies? We go, like, Pacific Rim Uprising. We're like, cancel the apocalypse. We watch Mad Max 3. The apocalypse is acceptable. Yes. That's us, apparently.
Apocalypse accepted.
Yeah, apocalypse. By the way, so even though, like I mentioned earlier, I will admit, I said earlier, it's nice that these movies are, like, they don't have as much continuity in between them. It's cool, but I would like to say, though, would you like a timeline of some kind? I don't know if the fourth movie helped that at all, because I know you saw the fourth movie a while ago. But I would like there to be some kind of, because I want to know how long it's been from the second to the third movie, because Max noticeably looks older, and at the time Mel Gibson was 29, so it's pre-pack of N-words, but still it's pre that comment, but he's still but he's 29 years old, and so I'm wondering, is he playing the character in his late 20s? Like, was he in his mid-20s? Like, because I don't know how old the character's supposed to be, because we had, was he supposed to be, like, early 20s in the first movie? Like, how, like, I don't know how early you can become a cop in Australia in the 70s, and I'm being legit here. I don't know. Like, how young, rather. I don't know.
Yeah.
So.
No, I would have guessed that for, like, first movie Max was somewhere in his 20s.
Right, but then this Max, he can't be in his 40s.
No, I would say early 30s.
Yeah, because that's the interesting thing, right? Like, when it comes to Mad Max,
obviously,
the way...
Yeah. Obviously, it's a different actor in the fourth one, but, like, he's definitely old. Not old, but, like, older. Definitely, like, 40s, 50s.
Oh, really? Because Hardy was in his, like, late 30s when he played him.
Right.
He's 40
right.
right now.
Okay, it might just be also living out in the desert for years upon years.
That's what I was going to say to you.
Older too.
That's what I was going to say to you. It's interesting because the way, even if the movie said, it's only been a year.
Just look how Obi-Wan aged when he was on Tatooine.
18 years. Goddamn.
Is not good on you.
You see why I have problems with those films now, Tristan? I'm not saying you don't have some issues, but I don't think we even said it when we did Star Wars Wednesdays, how he, in 18 years, at the minimum 18 years, he went from Ewan McGregor to, I can't remember the actors. Thank you. We went to McGinnis. I know 18 years, but like, god damn though.
I mean, 18 years in a desert.
I guess, yeah. But what I was going to say, though, was like the apocalypse here versus the apocalypse in something like The Walking Dead. It's bad, don't get me wrong, but as far as we've seen in The Walking Dead and Fear the Walking Dead, and I know you haven't seen it, Tristan, but like just to explain it to some who haven't, or, to kind of talk to those who have, there's been no nukes yet.
Right.
No nukes went off. Like nothing went off that makes it inhospitable, rather. There are zombies, which of course, like, okay, you have to make sure there aren't hordes, and you have to make sure that you get one at a time. You have to make sure that, you can secure whatever area you're in.
It's not like your drinking water is irradiated.
Exactly.
It's a little fallout.
Frankly, that's the most disturbing thing, I think, thinking about, like, well, no, just not that. Well, that joke was hilarious when the guy said it. I was like, that's fucking great. But what I mean is, you want to try to continue to live as the human race. Like, don't worry, we'll be fine. It's like...
Ish.
Yeah, the water's irradiated.
Yeah. That's going to kill you quick. Well, sort of.
At the very least, your babies are they're gonna look great.
You're not going to have any.
Sure. That's the best option. So yeah, I what's it called? So like when looking at this movie, yes, maybe it's only been like 6 months and like since like the last one. That would be really funny. It's like it's just been 6 months, but like you said,
been 3 weeks. Each movie is a different. No, that can't.
It's funny.
Oh god.
Wasn't it like less than 6 months between the first and the second one though? When things went to hell?
Possibly.
But the reason why I'm actually curious about the reason why, like, how many years has it been, is because when it comes to the plane crash, right? It's like the plane crashed, and clearly those kids were young enough to now not have good language, like to have just like mine.
They
just
were
like
old
mine
enough
when I say
to survive without their parents, but young enough that they're still.
Okay, so I looked online and I read the summary a bit. Maybe we missed this because of all the slang and stuff and also the kids even with their made-up language. Apparently their parents had gone out into the desert to look for rations or something.
Their parents followed Walker out. Okay.
Yeah, potentially. Although actually, to be fair, Walker could have died for all we fucking know. God only knows. But you're right, they could have followed Walker out.
I thought the idea was, I'm pretty sure they're all dead. Like, I'm not going to lie. I feel they died.
No. The parents died, but probably in the desert or something like that.
Yeah, no, that's what I mean. Like, in the desert, they just died in the desert, which is horrifying and sad. But, like, I'm going to be real. I thought for a second, like, Pig Killer was going to be Walker. Because he said one line, and then he started, like, driving the truck, and I'm like, do you know... I mean, it's obviously not the same thing as a plane, but I'm like, you know how to work this thing. And then there was one line he said about the wind, and I'm like, are you saying the same thing the kids are saying? But then I don't think that was a thing. So
the only reason why he wouldn't have been, even though I thought he was too, is because he said, I killed the pig to try to feed my family.
Right, yeah.
Unless that means that he killed the pig to try to bring it back to the kids or something. But, like... That was never specified, of course. It made it seem like he had some type of family. God knows where they are right now. and he's working. The best line, like as a half joke, half serious, I was like, oh my God. When it's like, yeah, I'll be down here for life, and it's like, oh, I'm sorry to hear that. It's like, no, life is only like 2 to 3 years down here, so I'm good.
Yeah, Jesus. Oh, hello, dark humor.
Yeah, dark.
Welcome to the show.
Yeah. Welcome to the Thunderdome.
Oh my God.
The Thunderdome is just people telling really dark jokes. It's just like, hey, you know, I hear that when you come in here, only one person survives. I'm the only one in here, so you want me to kill myself? Everyone's like, oh, Jesus, dude.
Yeah, and he just
Too
like he looks up like, really? We're in the apocalypse. Really? This is supposed to be our entertainment, man. Stop reminding us of our mortality. Jeez, get out. Oh. Like they remove him from the dome. Like they make the exception. Like no, you get to live. He's like,
in the Thunderdome, they bring out like one of those fucking like a giant like the cane or the hooks, and they just pull him out like it's off stage.
Yeah.
All right, I'll leave. Stage left. It's just.
I was halfway expecting the Rancor to come out at some point. Not gonna lie.
Oh, by the way, so what did you think? Like, were you extremely surprised, like as much as I was, that Blaster ended up being mentally disabled? Because honestly, I thought they were going to go for like Phantom of the Opera face.
I really actually didn't. When the helmet flew off, I'm like, I thought I had an idea of what he'd be like, but then I'm like, oh God, they're actually going to reveal his face. I don't know what to expect. Like, I thought, like, maybe he wasn't going to have a head for a second, or, like, you weren't going to see his head. Max was just going to, you know, bring the hammer down, and you wouldn't actually get to see his face.
They probably, if this was original Max, they would have shown it for 3 seconds, but like a split second, but it would have been one of those, this is a fake head to get crushed.
Right,
and,
yeah, exactly.
You know, and it'll explode or something.
Yeah.
No, yeah,
that is a good thought.
Yeah, well, that is a good thought, Tristan. I thought they were going to go for some kind of scarred or something that maybe his ears were like open, so that's why he was more sensitive to the sound. Because he was just sensitive to the sound because I guess, you know, they said he had the mind of a child. So if you want to go with that, even though it's not technically accurate of someone who's mentally disabled, in some cases technically not. In some cases, yes, some cases not exactly. But if that's the thing you want to go with, he was very susceptible to that sound because it was an annoying sound, to be fair. But he was susceptible to it to the point where it's like, I can't function with that sound. But yeah, so I was wondering, like, because I don't know, like, I actually feel bad that I want to see the face so badly because I was just like, show me the face, show me the face, show me the face. And then when they did, I was like, oh, dude. You know, like, hey, man, how's it going? Yeah, and again, that's what I love about Max, where even though I will admit, I was like, Max, why did you say that wasn't the deal? Like, I know you're lawman, but, like, doesn't mean you should be stupid about it. You have to be sly about it. Like, I can't kill him.
Well, that's
in
the
fact,
thing. I feel like anybody in Bartertown wouldn't have given a shit.
No, hear me out. I can't kill him. In fact, who here would even want me to do that? Staring at Auntie in the fucking eyes. No one here would want something like that. For he simply is just a person who does not understand what is going on. Who would want this? Like, what? How do you come back from that, Auntie? Like, what kind of fucking chant can we make up right now? We make up a chant, but not one that's offensive. Like, it's just like, what kind of chant do we make up? Like it's just, I don't know what she could come up with. Like, what do I liked her minions. Again, it's one of those things where it's like just like the other two films. I will admit this is a bit like the other two films. I wanted to see some more of them because I will admit the villain in the second film, I forgot his name. He was, oh God, what was it? The Ayatollah, wasn't it that who he was? Was it?
I don't remember.
Okay. 'Cause I remember they called him the Ayatollah of rock and rolla.
Oh right. Oh my god.
I forgot what his actual name was, the villain. I thought he was underdeveloped, but like definitely in this one, like I said earlier, I really want to see more from all of them.
Yeah. Well, it's funny. Like, it kind of felt to me like how they did too. Like the second-hand man was more of the main villain than the actual supposed main villain was. Because like it's not like Auntie was going up there and the one to stab Max in the face, which I was kind of hoping to see.
Well, yeah, that ending, by the way, okay, here's the thing, right? That ending, while I love her line, I really love it.
Yeah.
I think it's a very iconic line, and it's a beautiful line. I would argue the ending is shit, though. Not the fact that the kid survived, I love it.
Right.
But the fact that it's not like this movie, in my opinion, maybe I'm wrong, I haven't seen any interviews about this with the director of the film or the directors. Maybe I'm wrong, but I don't think this movie was made to inspire a fourth movie, and it just never got made until Fury Road. I don't think that was the case.
No.
It was just, hey, Max survived, he impressed her, and I'm just like,
well, see, for me it wasn't as bad because I feel like that fits her character because she understands that not everything can be solved. Not that she doesn't like to have, a murder fest here and there. I mean, shit, you have the Dome. But, like, she understands the fact, like, there wasn't, I don't know, like...
But just the way she said it, it comes off as, we'll probably meet again, I guess. Like, what a pair, you and I, huh? Like, it feels like a Batman Joker-esque thing, but you know that next month maybe they'll meet again in a comic, or like next year they might meet again in a comic. But we're never going to see those two again. And in fact, I'm pretty sure we didn't see her in Fury Road, I would imagine. I have no idea.
Well,
I'm just imagining.
I guess the idea is, like, everyone else already got away. And, like, I suppose, they could bring back Max for punishment, but, like, she already lost, like, most of her fleet at that point with the cars, so she's like, you know what? You had a good race. Yeah, she understands that at that point there's really not much point.
She could have just shot him right there, though.
Yeah. But,
and then walked away.
Yeah. I mean, for the subordinates, I guess, but, like, for the town, that wouldn't have... Because, like, she made the whole idea of go get them and, the people that took away Master and we'll show them justice.
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm not in a pro kill Max world. I'm not saying that's not my argument. But
no, I know. I was actually really surprised, too, at the end. I'm like, oh, God. Like, everyone just surrounded Max with guns, and I'm like, oh, shit, I don't see a way out this time.
Yeah, the Rancor.
Like, you're
just a giant worm.
Yeah, like, I thought he was literally going to get taken prisoner, and that was going to be the end. I'm like, oh, God. Oh.
Yeah. Tune in next week. There was never a next week. There was never another. No, look, the reason why I say the word shit, right, is because even, like, her line is so beautiful because I don't know why, it feels so, like you said, so fitting. Like, just, what a pair, you and I. But we're never going to see that pan out ever again, or we're never see that actually, like, their dynamic ever again. And to be fair, I don't think they had much chemistry, not saying in a love kind of way, but just in general. I don't know. It seemed like there wasn't anything, or they didn't have the time, or they didn't, like you said earlier, how it felt like two different movies kind of way, where it feels like we either should have had more time in Bartertown or more time with the kids and Max and doing something else. Now, of course, the question does become, how do you, like, combine the two? Because, like, what would you do to flesh out a movie with, the kids and the plane?
With the kids, yeah.
Or, but it's funny, though, I feel like you could have, like, I feel like if we cut out the kids and the movie was just an hour 20, I think it might have been tighter. And I'm not even anti these kids because it was a horror of, nuclear war, having these kids living in the fallout. Like, it does help bolster the movie's ideals of, also Max helping people. Max needed someone to save. And that is true as well. But I do feel like, in a way, not we're a distraction, because, again, he needs to save them, but I say distraction in the sense that, the movie is called Beyond the Thunderdome. Yes, technically the kids are beyond that Thunderdome, haha. But like you said earlier, very little Thunderdome. And
for a title with the Thunderdome in it, yeah.
And we don't get much of him with Auntie. Again, not in a loving way, just like in a tit-for-tat kind of thing.
Right.
And in a way, I feel like that did bring down the movie. I think that's one of the reasons why it felt weaker, especially because they were trying to turn her into a villain without making her go full-out villainous and full-out, kind of just over the top. But,
right, yeah.
But at the same, and she's there to help her people, and and try to bring about civilization in some kind of way again. But at the same time, she's still ready to kill Blaster and enslave Master. Even though Master was a dick, but I don't think a dick in a way that you can do that to him and kill his friend. Like
right, he wasn't
like,
irredeemable or anything.
Yeah, as far as we know,
he was getting a little power mad. Like, yeah, but she's more power mad because she's like, no, I'm taking control. Like, I'm breaking up your little duo there, and we're going to keep your smarts to keep this place running, but I am still the queen here. Fuck you.
And it's funny, at first it felt okay, only because and this is something I'll say that I do appreciate the way the film was made. It did make it seem like not even with Blaster, with his situation, but it made it seem as if Master and Blaster have done so much shit, but we have no idea what they've done.
Right.
Like, for all we know, they've never actually killed anyone. Yes, of course, people are working down there so they can die from overwork, don't get me wrong, but as far as we know, Blaster can go in there and kill 20 men, but has he? He looks like he can.
Right.
We've never seen that exactly. So
yeah, I think the idea what would have made this stronger was if there was if either Master and Blaster or Auntie were the definitive villain for the film instead of kind of like bouncing back and forth.
Yeah, it's a great twist. Don't get me wrong, but it definitely was a problem when then Max has is out in the desert and then he's and then we get. Another thing, too, I think, I'm happy with Max being in the desert, but it felt like we did not get enough time. We got very little time seeing what's going on with Auntie and with Master. We got enough to know, oh, snap, Auntie's the bad guy. We were right. That was the twist. Okay, Auntie's bad. But it was never, I don't know. It's a little hard to explain, but it
never felt like we got to the point where, okay, we need to overthrow her reign because she's evil.
Yeah.
It kind of felt, she's doing what she needs to do to keep power, and technically in that post-apocalyptic world, keep the rules of Bartertown, keep everyone, to them, in a way.
And maybe that's the way they wanted to set it up, They didn't want it, because it's just one of those things where in this apocalypse, Mad Max, we have to acknowledge that Max, don't have to call him Mad, he's not always mad, but we have to acknowledge that Max is, even though he seems like he's a superhero, he's not. He's just some dude.
Yeah. I mean, he does what he needs to do to survive. Granted, in the second movie, when he found, the guy flying the plane, he had him chained up for quite a while. Like, Max isn't exactly a saint either. He does what he needs to survive. Granted, he doesn't outright murder people for their supplies, but he'll use them to his own means while he can. Whereas, where I feel like in this movie, he's kind of chilled out a bit.
That's why, even though I'm not saying Mad Max should go on a chaining up people spree, but it does feel like this movie was sanitized, and I don't think it's the kids necessarily. It felt like with this movie, it felt like if you look at the societies, well, first of all, they did want to make these societies all different, so in the second movie, and then these two different ones in the third, they didn't want to make it seem like they're the same types of people, but it just feels like the first movie happens, and things are crazy, but the apocalypse technically hadn't gone down yet. Things were getting bad, but you could argue that the first movie was just an autobiography, or just autobiographical. That's just how Australia is. And
oh my God.
And then the second one, it was like, sure. And then the second one, that's when things went crazy with the apocalypse. But it's just interesting how, think of it like this, Tristan, right? So the apocalypse happens, right? Starts off, the nuclear explosion, and everyone's like, all right, time to take out the BDSM gear. I mean, I've had it in my closet. The closet doesn't exist anymore. The BDSM gear isn't as irradiated, so thankfully I can put that on. Now,
I've been waiting to use this.
I've been waiting to use this, and now is the time. And then by the third one, they're like, all right, guys, things have gotten a lot less sexy here. Let's put on some rags. Come on. Come on, guys. It's hot out here. Let's put on some rags. Just get rid of the bondage gear. Maybe put on a helmet if you need to. We're good. Like, it felt like the third one, everyone chilled out. Like, the second one, not that I'm saying it's a phase to be into BDSM, but like, it was like a gothy kind of phase where it's just like, go to your room. It got destroyed in the explosion, Dad. And then the third one is just like, all right, we have to start up businesses and shit. We'll barter. Whatever. Like, it's just, like, the society has, like, grown and changed over time. So, and it wasn't meant to be that way, but to me, it just kind of comes off that way. It just seems really funny how, like, in the second one, it's just like, wait a minute, you're not in BDSM gear? Fuck's wrong with you, dude? And in the third one, it's just like, dude, that's like so 6 months ago.
Oh my God.
Or God knows how long it was. Because again, like I mentioned earlier about these kids, I'm wondering how long it took for them to stop developing language skills, and some of them how young they may have been. Like, when I see how many kids were in that cast, I'm like, how big was the plane? Granted, we see the plane, and we're like, that's huge. But was it a kid-exclusive plane? No, it was jumbo, but, like, I don't know. I never think about how many people are actually on a plane at any given time, any singular plane. I don't usually fly a lot, so I never think about how many people are in a plane.
I get the feeling those were just the ones that survived, and also their families are gone, too, so that's almost half of the group gone out of what survived the crash. Right.
And you know what it is? It's just when you see them walking on the plane or like all walking down, it seems like there's a lot more. Like in my head, I'm like, yeah, there should be like 5 to 10, not 5, but like 10, maybe 15 kids, but it looks like there's like 30. And again, I'm not saying that there can't be 30 kids on a plane at once. I've just taken some smaller, like the recent planes that I've taken have been super duper small. Like when it, like let's say it's me and like a debate team of maybe like 10 at most, it feels like we are 10 out of like 50.
Right.
Because you know there's some planes where it's like super small, where it's just like, I think we're experiencing turbulence. We haven't left a runway yet. I just feel like it's turbulence already. No, that's just the engines. Are we, first off, engines or engine? Because it feels like it's just one engine. How small the plane is.
Plane doesn't have a phalange.
Yeah, the plane doesn't have. It needs. That's the problem. The plane that they were in, it needed a phalange, and there was just no phalange. The kids did not know that they needed a phalange.
You got that reference? Kudos to you.
Oh God, you brought me back far back. Not 85, but you brought me really far back with that one. Shit.
That was post-apocalypse.
It was technically.
Oh.
It's the one, just literally, they're like, the apocalypse happened, but don't worry, Friends still got on the air.
Oh my God.
But still though, when it comes to the kids though, I want to know, first off, I love their language. I love the way they developed it. I feel like movies don't do that often enough, and I understand it can be hard because you're not developing a new language technically, but you're just flipping words around and how they're used. But it's still such an interesting concept, and other comics and movies have done it since, but other ones most likely, especially if they're in like a foreign land or it's a fantasy series, they'll just make up a new language, because they want to be nerds about it and super cool and smarter than me. They'll make up brand new languages. What?
Nothing.
Well, like Dothraki, or obviously, Klingon. But Dothraki is like a newer one that I thought of. There's other movies too that do it. But when it comes to this to this movie, it was nice that they were just like, we'll just keep the same words, but we'll twist like, like when meeting Mr. Dead or something like that.
Sentence structure is just going out the window.
Yes, which it makes sense sort of, but at the if they were all like really young or like babes, but at the same some of them had to have been babes because I'm wondering, I'm like, wait, it's fine that your sentence structure went out the window, but like some of you look like you're teenagers.
Right.
Maybe they weren't. Maybe they're supposed to be younger, but they had to get older actors. But like some of them, I'm like, okay, you look like you're 10. How long has it been for you? Like, is it a similar mentality to the BDSM thing? But the difference is that like with kids, it's not that at all. It's like, oh, thank God we don't have to use sentences. Fuck the adults. like the kids are like, we'll develop our own language. Fuck it.
Right.
Well, I don't know. Maybe it's just me. Like, I again, this isn't really, it's hard to like get kid actors who are good. So I assume the main two, the main three, the older ones, they were all like super old because they just got older actors. But they looked like they were like 16, like as characters. So it's kind of like, how long you been out in the desert to develop your own language like that heavily?
Right. Yeah.
I don't know. That's kind of why I'm like, I would really like some type of timeline or something like that. We said this before. I really want Mad Max comics so badly.
I feel like there might be.
I looked. I don't think there are, or if there was, it was like some prequel comic or something. I'll look it up right now, but I'm 95% sure there has not been Mad Max comics. Maybe there was like one comic book adaptation of a movie.
Okay.
But I don't think. I mean, I'll look it up right now. But
yeah.
Either way.
The other
what?
hilarious thing with the kids when they were, recounting the tale, how they literally have a bamboo frame, but it's to simulate like a TV.
That's what makes you know that like they knew what TV, like they were clearly, they weren't like 3, but
right.
It's so strange. Yeah. That is a great point, though. I love that. And also the sad thing, this is not the fun thing, this is the sad thing. When they had the I forgot what it was called, but we had those when we were kids, Tristan, where they would have different pictures. It's just so funny, though, because like when I was a kid, right, and somebody would be like, Matt, look at this, and like they'd have it flip from different pictures. I just look at them and I'd be like, look, I was a kid, so I didn't want to be rude, but I was like, that's a Super Nintendo over there. So I took this and I was like, thank you. But that's a Super Nintendo over there. Like, I'm not saying I didn't enjoy it as a present, but like I think people were like, it's a different place. It's like you're in a different place. And I'm like, this is not Mushroom Kingdom.
Right.
But they saw
and
like
Mr.
different
Walker and Mrs. Walker.
I was like, that is neither. That neither of them.
It's just like, kids. Oh boy.
You got on. Yeah, no. Like, how do you talk to them? You can't. Frankly.
Nope.
You really can't, though. One thing I want to mention. So you were right about the comic book, sort of. There was a Mad Max Fury Road comic, and it was created by George Miller, Nico Lazaris, and Mark Sexton, and it served as a prequel to the 2015 film of the same name. And the series focuses on several characters from the film at various points in their lives before it. So I'll probably, when we get the chance, we'll probably read that and maybe do that before Fury Road or something like that. That would be interesting. It would be interesting. But so either way, though, I want to see here. Oh yeah, there were 4 issues in it. And it began in May 2015, and it was published by Vertigo. And they just published 4 issues, collected in a single volume. They were like, "This is your Mad Max," and and some didn't like it apparently. Interesting. All right then. I've never read it. I haven't even seen Fury Road, so I was looking for Mad. Yeah.
Fury Road was the first thing that I saw, so I had no context.
So I have a question for you. Why did you now? Even though we're not at Fury Road yet, but we've talked a fair amount about the movie. We'll talk more, but I'm just curious. Why Fury Road? I think I've asked you this before off podcast, but I'll ask now.
Yeah.
Why?
So I went to the movies with a friend, and she was like, "Hey, do you want to go see this?" I'm like, "Sure."
But why did she want to go see it? I'm wondering if she liked Mad Max as a kid, or maybe I don't know.
I don't know. I don't think it was that. I think it was just there was something to do and it was an action movie. So she was like, "Yeah, fuck it, let's go."
All right. That's all right. No, because yeah, obviously it didn't have any it didn't say Mad Max 4 or anything like that. It was just like Mad Max
Yeah.
Fury Road.
Like I feel there were things that may have been mentioned, or there was one particular thing that I saw. I'm like, I don't have any context for that. Why is that happening?
But funnily enough, I guess we can say this much, even though we haven't read the comic about it. Looking at this movie, or all three of these movies, it did not prepare you for Fury Road. It prepared you for the apocalypse, but
yeah, I mean that's the thing. Like they're all the stories in each movie feel very self-contained. So
yes.
I still very much enjoyed the movie, even not seeing any of the older Mad Max films.
Yes. So yeah, it would have been nice though. Maybe Fury Road has some of those. And even in this one, even though I think that I'm with continuity, I'm referring to, or cameos, something like that. But when it comes character cameos, not actor cameos, because there was an actor cameo in that movie, just like there was in this one. It would have been nice though if they were both times it was. Oh God, I forgot his name already. But both times the character Bruce, he played the gyro captain. That would have been nice if he was both. Like if both times he played the gyro captain, just a small little reference or something. Because while I do like that the movie is self-contained, I still admit it. It's nice if there's like a little something here and there, a little bit.
Yeah.
Also, I love how Max shows up not shaved. We're like, how old is he? He shaves. Oh, very young actually. No, like on Gibson, the beard really does make him look so much older. Anytime he has a beard, I'm like, my God, he's older than he already is. Like, it doesn't matter what age it is. Like, right now, he's 62. And you put a beard on him, and I'm like, oh, my God, Gibson, how old are you? And then I look at it, I'm like, all right, 62, that makes sense. But then get the beard off him, and I'm just like, wow, look at young Gibson over here. It's very strange. No, because in some people, in my opinion, like a beard on them, like a beard on me doesn't make me look like crazy old. It makes me look distinguished, maybe.
Right.
Yeah, because I have that 5 o'clock shadow, and then it's like, but put that beard on, and it's like, damn, Matt, you're looking good. And I'm like, yeah, me. So, that's what I do in the mirror. And,
in, your half-broken, shattered apocalypse mirror.
Exactly. I hurt myself today. Just looking in the mirror. Yeah, when it comes to Gibson though, him having a beard in the beginning of the movie, you thought he was real much older.
Yeah.
And it's just funny how he kind of wasn't. Also, I'm confused. I don't know much about I haven't seen the second movie in a while. Was the monkey in the second movie? Are we just supposed to? Because let's say he wasn't, right? Because again, it's been a while. Let's say he wasn't.
What?
I thought he was. No, because in my head I'm like, is the monkey the cameo that I've been asking for this entire podcast?
I mean, he might be.
Yeah. I'd laugh if it was the exact same monkey. I don't think he was, but I'd laugh if he was. The interesting thing, by the way, so I don't know much about the sand pit that they were in, right? I don't know much,
right.
Like the one that was pulling him in. Do those actually exist? I feel like if there's... Okay, no, let me explain why. I feel like if there was one person to ask on this podcast, out of everyone we bring on, it would be you. And the reason why I'm asking you is because you know how movies dramatize quicksand much more. Yeah. That's what I'm saying. So I was wondering if they were dramatizing this, like the whole sand pit thing that pulls you in and that you die of, or if it legitimately exists, because I don't spend time in the desert often, Tristan, and you don't necessarily either. But again, I feel like if there's someone who knows more about this than I do, it would be you. So those do exist in the wild, like in real life. Okay. Just asking because it's a movie, so I'm just like, it sucked him in so quick, and it's so like, oh my goodness, disappeared out of nowhere. Oh no, that I was actually.
No, it's like the idea of a sinkhole, sort of.
Oh, okay.
But yeah.
Well, really?
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, that can happen.
Okay, cool. So here's something odd that I just noticed. I don't know why I didn't notice it when when I was first watching this. There was an odd use of CG, and I don't know. Maybe it was like there were certain laws or something that they couldn't like work with the kids at night or something like that. I have no idea. But when they were in total darkness after most of the kids got saved, and they were running up,
right.
and they were running
up.
Up the dune. And then out of nowhere, I don't know, maybe it was just a random lighting thing and it's just me, but yeah, maybe it was just a lighting thing. It looks like there's like weird like whiteness underneath their arms, like Max and then the other two kids.
Huh.
So it looked like it could have just been a lighting issue, but it looked like they were in front of a green screen or something. I don't know. It doesn't list anywhere like how they filmed it. From what I've seen, it could have just been a lighting issue and not a green screen thing, but it was reminiscent of the blue screen issues that happened in Godzilla versus King Kong.
Oh, God.
You remember those blue screen issues, right?
Yeah.
That's the way. Yeah, that's how it came off to me for a second. Speaking of, by the way, another thing that kind of came off in this movie, like when I talk about the whole sanitization thing, when you mentioned the brutality earlier, but another thing as well is there was a lot more budget. And with the budget, felt like they could perform things that, while I did enjoy, like with the Thunderdome, in other cases, again, it just felt like maybe there was too many extras. As much as I'm not saying that you can't build a society or show a society with extras, it felt like there was so many people, not like it's a big major city, like the apocalypse didn't happen. Like, of course it did, but it just felt like it was very populated. Where in the first movie, even with the first movie where it seems like nothing has changed, that's how little budget they had, there were still barely any people around, unless someone was getting terrorized or being a terrorizer.
Right.
Where in the second film even, it was like, okay, small society. But then in this one, it felt like they had so many people. I mean, in the credits, they listed them per group they were in.
Right.
Which was fun. I mean, you saw the credits. It was just like, oh, these are the kids that stayed. These are the kids that left. These are...
Right, yeah.
That's what I mean. Like, there were so many of them, it wasn't just like, oh, let's list. It was like, let's divvy up the list, which was fun. Like, I actually like that, so I could know, like, oh, you were in this category, you were in that category. But this movie introduced a lot of people.
Right.
You know, including extras. Like, a lot went into this. A lot of money went into this movie, even before the car chase scene, which, of course, was its own hassle, of course, to film in the desert. I mean, dear God.
Which is funny. Like, I love the car chase scenes, and, like, but I felt like this one wasn't as, like, the choreography, I guess, wasn't as interesting as the first two car scenes, or at least the second one's car scene.
Yeah, I'll give you that. It wasn't terrible. It just felt as if, I don't know, maybe it was because it was harder to work with the kids and things like that, and, you know, stuff like that, because, you know, maybe it was hard to put them in that much danger or peril without, you know, because you'd have to find, like, actors to, like, stunt actors to look, you know, be the kids' height and everything like that. Maybe that was an issue. Or because they were the way that they were, like, in the desert, they couldn't, like, jump from, you know, it's a bit...
They had the kid walk out onto the hood of the truck in the second one to get the shotgun show.
That's true. You're right. What I mean is that, like, it was a bit different than the first two movies, where in the first one, even talking about just the canon, they had more gas. They clearly had more resources because things hadn't gone completely to shit yet.
Yeah, okay. That's an interesting way to look at it, yeah.
They couldn't, it's funny, in a weird way with the first two movies, if they could fuck something up, if something got, like, you know, oh, crash that car into that car. Why? So I can jump onto that car before we crash. Really? Yeah, we'll be fine. We have enough resources.
They could scavenge the part and repair something else, yeah.
Or it's just three of us or something. In this case, Max had a lot of kids.
Yeah.
Like, there was a lot of people he had to protect, so people couldn't just, like, jump from one thing to another.
Right, that's true.
Something else. Although I have to say though, I did like the designs for the cars.
Oh yeah, no, that's
Like,
always fantastic.
Yeah, I will say, even with with what I've been saying about the movie, whole sanitizing, not only did Max feel like Max, but this did feel like a Mad Max film.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's just something felt more subdued. Like something about it felt less raw than the first two did. And I don't know what it is exactly.
In a way, that's kind of okay.
Yeah, no, I'm not, again, believe me, I'm not saying it's like, why didn't all of the kids die? Like, no.
Yeah.
In fact, I think it's the most Max thing to have them escape and him be like, yeah, no, I'm here. I'm good.
Yeah.
That's the most Mad Max.
Myself so they could get away.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
No, it's
I
it's
feel like he's like, I'm gonna regret this.
Yeah.
But I have to do this.
Yeah, it's very much like.
I loved it. They were looking at him like, really? It's like, don't say it. Just go. Just go.
Yeah.
It's like, don't wave. Don't look at me. Don't thank me. Just go. Just get the hell out of here.
Oh, did you notice? I have a strange feeling that Moffat from Doctor Who is a fan of this movie.
Okay.
Do you know why?
Do
you remember? Do you remember what Auntie calls Max throughout the film? Raggedy Man. Yeah, no, she calls him Raggedy Man, and when she did at the end, the way she did at the end, I was like, oh shit, that reminded me of Alex Kingston as River's Song, calling the Doctor Raggedy Man, or just in general.
That was
Sorry,
Amy's
that wasn't.
thing.
That was Amy, but didn't she call him that as well, or no?
No, that was Amy's thing.
Only Amy. Okay,
River
well then.
always called him Sweetie.
Well, I'm sorry, that's her kid. So you know what? Fuck it.
Well,
anyway.
All right.
No, but seriously though, but all jokes aside, when it came to Amy, my bad, right, Amy. But still, regardless, Moffat wrote that. So that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
That's what I'm getting at here. It's interesting. I want to talk to Moffat now. Be like, did you randomly watch Beyond the Thunderdome? In your
Oh God.
Let me see. How old is he right now? I'm thinking 50s. In your 20s. Look at him. Did you watch that in your 20s?
Doctor Who Beyond the Thunderdome.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah. Well, it's funny. Who had already been going on, of course, by this point.
Oh, yeah.
But doesn't change the fact that I would imagine this movie probably inspired Who in some ways. Not just New Who, but also Who at the time as well. All three of these movies, with how prolific they were. I'm thinking, when did Who get off the air? Was Who off the air by the time this movie came out? 85?
Oh.
I thought it was late 80s.
Huh. Yeah, I know it. Like, it's definitely somewhere in the 80s. Huh.
Yeah. Can you look that up, or should I?
No, I can.
Okay. So yeah, while you're looking that up, I'll talk about the fact that some of the stuff with the cars, it was good, like we said earlier, but I think just it being bigger, it might have been harder to. I mean, it's funny when you have it's one of those weird situations where, like, when you have a low budget, of course you can't just go willy-nilly destroy things. What?
Right. It's more the 90s, because 1880s, yeah, we've got 5th, 6th, and 7th. So, yeah, maybe late 80s and then into 90s, and then, yeah, we come into 2005 with New Who.
Well, no, didn't we get the, I thought 90s we only got that one special.
1980s, 6th Doctor, 7th Doctor. Yeah, 1990s. Series was taken off air in 1989.
There we go. Literally 89. Okay. Right. So, yeah. No, I'm just saying that, like, I'm sure all three of these movies inspired Who in some ways, funnily enough, but not just New Who. One thing I want to say, though, is they still had the rock star aesthetic for some of these background characters. They didn't lose that. It's just the straight-up BDSM gimpiness that they had in the second one that I literally just was, like, completely gone. It's just funny.
They made the costumes make a little bit more sense with being out in the desert.
Right. I mean, I still got to be real with you. I mean, I know the cloths and everything makes sense. Like, it's funny. The BDSM gear, to me, makes sense during the day when it's hot, not at night.
No, you don't want to be exposed.
What?
You want to cover up because your skin will burn very badly. Like, you want to cover up, but you want to cover up in very light, light colored clothing.
Okay. So that's fair. My bad.
Yeah.
Because in my head, I was like...
Yeah, no, at night you want to be covered up, too, because all that heat just dissipates and it gets cold.
Oh, yeah, no, fucking freezing. That's why the kids in the cloth lying down at night, I was like, no, y'all dead.
Yeah, that's what I'm like, they are huddled up together for a reason. They are trying to, condense whatever warmth they can.
Yeah. I want to mention the actual budget here. The budget was $10 million, and I want to compare that to the first two, because I thought the first two, or at least the first one, was a lot lower, but maybe I was wrong. The budget was $10 million. The box office was $36.2 million, and I think in Australia the box office was a lot lower. I think it was just a thing where perhaps, even though of course there were sequels to movies at this time, this wasn't like even though this movie had a lot of firsts, it wasn't the first fucking sequel. Like blockbusters were still a thing at this point, but. Or at least were becoming a thing at this point. Like blockbusters with a lot of with sequels, like getting higher and higher, not just budgets but also revenue in the box office. But I want to see the first two right now because we've been talking about the box office numbers, just looking back and going like, wow, because in the first movie rather, the budget was extremely low. I thought. This is in Australian dollars, and it was $350,000 to $400,000. Now, I don't have a currency converter, and even if I did, if I pulled it up right now, I'd have to go into the 70s. So I'd have to look at it in the 70s and then adjust for inflation. No idea if this number is adjusted for inflation, but I'll say that in the box office, it made $100 million, the first movie.
Right.
So that's a fuck ton. In the second one, it made the budget was $4.5 million, and in Australia it made $10.8 million, and then in the U.S. it made $23.7 million. So it still made more, a fair amount more actually when you combine the two. Yeah, of course, because it's only $4.5 million. However, in this one, it being $10 million doesn't sound as bad, but only getting $36.2 million in North America. I don't know. I guess $10 million isn't so bad, to be fair. But, I mean, again, looking at the first one, the fact that it made $100 million.
Right.
I'm surprised, actually, they only spent $10 million on this. Only because, in my mind, even though Turner was a new actress, she was, she was a pretty famous singer at the time.
Right, yeah. That's still a big name. Yeah. Yeah,
to me that's a big name, so I'm surprised they only spent $10 million on this. But either way, though, it wasn't considered to us, we're like, yeah, we spent $10 million, but man, you made $26 million? But I'm sure they also probably put money into advertising this because it was the third one, so they probably thought, yeah, it's going to make so much money, so they probably spent money doing stuff like that as well. That this was not really considered, it wasn't considered a flop necessarily, but it definitely wasn't considered It's funny, the songs actually did very well. We Don't Need Another Hero, Thunderdome, actually reached number 1 in Canada, number 2 in the U.S., and number 3 in the British single charts when it came out in 85. It was a good song, and it's Tina Turner. Yeah. Funnily enough, you would think that's what would draw people in to the film, but perhaps, even though I've never heard people talk negatively about her in the film, but I do wonder maybe some people thought, why are you bringing a bigger name actress into the film? I don't know. Or maybe people thought, it's funny in a sad way to say this, but even though we do kind of like that they're their own things, like each movie, and they don't really tie in together, they don't have this long narrative, in some ways of it does make some people feel like, oh, I saw the first one, it tied everything together, or, okay, you made a second one, actually it might have even been better than the first to some people, it was its own thing, why do I need to see the third one?
Right.
It took it took a bunch of like Marvel, or not Marvel, but like in general superhero stuff or other stuff with like longer, larger continuities to make people not have think like, oh, sequels are the worst thing. Although to be fair, even when it comes to sequels for Marvel movies, well, people have no problem tying a bunch of movies together to watch Avengers. They will sit back and be like, yeah, Iron Man was good, but Iron Man 2 was iffy, and then Iron Man 3 wasn't really good. Like, people will still talk about the sequels to these movies and find the second or third ones a bit iffy compared to the first. So even though this movie does not really have any callbacks or tie-ins or references other than the monkey and Max, it's still Max and the monkey. The monkey and Max. It's like that Reagan movie with the chimp. But yeah, even though that happened, it's just the two of them. Still, maybe some people will thought, nah, it's the third one. I'm good. I've already seen the first two. I know what I'm getting. So we can have fun, right? With the fact that and also another thing too, like the fact that you can buy this on Blu-ray or DVD for really cheap. Compared to back then where it's like, am I going to go to the movies to see this? It's like, or, you get it on cable and then it's super fucking censored.
Yeah.
Because I'm pretty sure HBO wasn't around at the time. So you couldn't, in 85. So you couldn't see, pretty sure that came in I thought HBO came in like the early 90s, like when it sprung up. I don't believe it was up in the 80s yet. But either way though, point is that I do wonder if maybe that's why it didn't do so well. Like the movie, like people were like, I saw the first two. Do I need to see one more?
Yeah, I wonder.
Yeah, because again, nowadays media is so cheap, or you have streaming services like Netflix. It's like, wait, I saw the first two. Why don't I see the third one? Like nowadays, it's like, why don't I see? Versus, do I want to get that from the video store? Do I want to rent that from Blockbuster? There's a bunch of other stuff out. What am I going to rent from Blockbuster this week? Weekly rentals. Good God. Takes us back. When was the last time you stepped into a Blockbuster, Tristan? I know they're all gone now.
Before the
apocalypse. Funnily enough, they're the only things that stayed up. Everything's irradiated, but apparently, for some odd reason, Twizzlers are immune. Twizzlers and Twinkies.
Oh my God.
Twizzlers and Twinkies, man. But anyway, so one thing I want to mention as we're kind of wrapping this thing up, the producer, Byron Kennedy. This was the first movie made without him. And the reason why is because, sad reason, he was actually killed in a helicopter crash in 1983 while location scouting for the film.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Right, that's why they had the dedication for him at the end of the film and the credits. Okay.
Yes. So this was while, it really was, because it was while the film was in development, and so the director, George Miller, he was kind of hesitant at first to make it without him, because apparently when I said, oh yeah, two guys getting together, remember when I said two guys getting together in the beginning of our first Mad Max podcast, it was the two of them who worked to really get this thing off the ground.
Yeah.
So without him, he was saying that he was reluctant to go ahead. This is Miller. And then he said that there was sort of a need to. And this is his quote. He said, and then there was a sort of need to, let's do something just to get over the shock and grief of all that.
Right.
And then you mentioned, yes, at the end of the film, there's a title card that reads for Byron. And so Miller ended up co-directing it with George Ogilvie? It's Ogilvie. And so Miller said that he had a lot on his plate, and he asked his friend George, who was working on the miniseries, this is a miniseries called The Dismissal that they worked on together, could you come and help me? And he said, but I don't remember the experience because I was just doing it to just, I was grieving. So that hurts. That hurts a lot. But I do wonder, nothing against Miller, but I do wonder if maybe without Kennedy involved, perhaps that might be why the film felt a little bit different, Maybe his input who he was
Maybe.
as a person, his input, maybe that changed things because as a creative person myself, and I think about some of the stuff that you and I and a bunch of other people work on together. I can't just say, oh yeah, Tristan's gone. Tristan says he's never going to work with us again. We'll be fine. Even if it's even if it's just you stepping back, not actually passing on, it still is a situation where it's just like, oh, yeah, that's a void. It's
right.
a void of talent,
Yeah.
And of course, also the fact that Miller was working on this while grieving, which you want everything to press on, but it hurts, man. Working on stuff while grieving fucking hurts.
Yeah, I mean, I would say considering all of that, they made a pretty damn, bang up film.
Oh no, really? Yes, considering the circumstances, yes, this was an amazing film. Yeah. I want to mention. Okay, so yeah, nothing about the. Because I was looking at the setting as if there's anything that I can go. Yeah, that was shot here, but it's nothing that we would be able to go. Yeah, of course they shot there. Like no idea.
Right.
Yes, but either way though. Yeah. Oh, here's something that I found. Let's end this on a funny note. Filmmaker Chris Weitz, W-E-I-T-Z, or Chris Weitz has cited this film as an influence. And when they named him because it's under legacy on Wikipedia. So when they named him, I was like, oh, what has he done? Has he done anything post-apocalyptic? Like, what has he done that they randomly listed him on Wikipedia? And it's such an interesting set of films, Tristan. We're gonna read them all right now. We're gonna have a blast, okay?
Okay.
So Chris Weitz, he was a writer on Ants.
Oh.
He was an uncredited director and a credited producer on American Pie.
Oh.
He wrote Nutty Professor 2: The Clumps.
Oh my God.
He also was an executive producer on American Pie 2. He was a director for the movie Down to Earth. From what I remember, it's been a while since I've seen it, a really fun Chris Rock movie, Down to Earth. It actually was. I'll send you the link later. And then looking down here, he was executive producer on American Wedding. He also was a producer on Nick and Nora's Infinite Playlist, which I've heard good things about. He was also a director for The Twilight Saga, New Moon. But Tristan, you may know him as the writer with his co-screenwriter, Tony Gilroy, on Rogue One, A Star Wars Story. So how about you don't bash the man for directing New Moon and getting some of that sweet money so that he can be in the business and then work on one of your favorite Star Wars movies, Tristan?
You get a pass, Matt. You get a pass this time.
What a pair, you and I.
Oh, my God. Oh, yes, I just spared you.
What a pair. But at least everyone listening in could see this happen on a weekly basis, or listen to this happen on a weekly basis.
Oh my
See,
God.
that's the payoff. It continues happening. Anyway, oh my God. So, is there anything you want to say before we wrap this thing up fully?
Yeah. The one thing I wanted to say, I do kind of like how they wrapped up the end of the film, where it's the kids who have grown up and then have had kids of their own, but they were able to find. They actually found, Sydney. They found Sydney.
Yes. I gotta say
the
this.
Wreckage.
I gotta say this. It felt like a copy-paste from the second movie, but you know what? You know what, though? Here's two things. One, they didn't type stuff up on computers back then the way they do now, so I don't think there was a copy-paste involved. That's the first thing.
Right.
Two, all jokes aside, even though it felt like a copy-paste, I still enjoy the fact of, Max's legacy living on for years, potentially after he's passed.
Right, yeah, because that's what it always feels like.
Yeah, literally.
Aside from the first one, but 2 and 3 make it seem like this is years later, the kid's retelling his tale, and he's kind of a legend at this point.
Yeah. I mean, again, what's funny is, for all we know, Max just rolls up into town both times like, you call my name, motherfucker.
Yeah, right.
Just rolls up both times like, heard you say Max, Mad Max. I don't know who the fuck's playing him then, but
Oh my god.
but seriously though, yeah, you're right though. It does feel like he's become, this myth, and I think that's a beautiful thing, because he does do these good things to try to help, people. Again, rough around the edges, right?
Right.
But he's not Captain America, right? He's not a Boy Scout,
Right.
but at the same time, he's not necessarily an anti-hero.
Right. Yeah.
He's in this weird. Were you thinking of the Pacific Rim joke again?
Oh my god.
And then were you thinking of that joke, Captain America?
Yeah. Oh my. Yeah. There we go.
But no, but seriously though, yeah, I agree with you there. I do love the ending. It felt like it was the same from the second one, but it's not necessarily a bad ending. That part of the ending,
Yeah.
I did enjoy.
Right. Because I felt like it was supposed to be the foil of we can return to the civilization that we once knew. Granted, it will be different from the first time, but it will be different in better ways. And, like, we can do better than Bartertown. And I thought it was another, nice touch that it's like we light the cities in case that, Max finds us, or he's wandering about and finds us, he can find the lights and find his way home, and that we're here. Or anyone can find their way home, like back to their original home, and we can rebuild it and make it a better home this time.
Even if it's not, that's the funny thing, like, even if it's not like you're from Sydney or you're even from Australia, it's just like, you found home, this is civilization, come home.
Right.
Like, it's a beautiful message, and I think ending the movie on that note, like, believe me, I love that note a lot better than Max getting an arrow in the head. Believe me.
Yeah.
Like, they're saying that as, like, it just shows him bleeding on the floor. Like, no, I'm fine. I'm fine with that message. Though, granted, going back to Sydney, assuming that it's burned to the ground, not from. Because here's the thing: if it burned from the ground naturally, so be it. You can go back there. I think. If it burned burned to the ground due to atomic hellfire, I think they should stay the fuck away from Sydney.
Yeah. Right.
But again, Mad Max has never gone for other than the joke about Fallout. It really isn't going for the whole,
realism of it. Yeah.
Because to be fair, I assume if there was nuclear fallout, everywhere would be fucked.
Yeah, I mean, there would, on the scale that they make it seem like, because they made it seem like it was a world war that brought everything down.
Yeah.
So, like, it might, like, depending on how many nukes were dropped, it might not affect, the entire planet, but definitely, like, near major cities, would definitely not be livable.
I mean, I know, like, not the entire planet. Like, I'm sure there's other parts. Like, my whole thing is, I know it's not the entire, but the parts that would be inhabitable would be the parts that have creepy crawlies or, like, dangerous animals that are, like...
Oh, yeah, you're out in the middle of nowhere. Yeah.
There's a reason why it didn't hit here. These are,
right.
These aren't like creepy hybrid dogs or something that got hit with, like, nuclear atomic, blasts. But at the same time, it's still tigers. So, like, pick your battle.
Right.
Which one would you rather go up against? If the world got nuked, the only place that'd be, like, a safe, and I'm like, yo, where is Mothra? Where is he chilling? Because I'm going to go to that island, because I think that island would be completely safe.
Oh, my God.
Although I think, in some canon, isn't that the island they tested nukes on?
Yes.
How long has it been?
I was about to say.
But how long has it been since the test? Because I'd rather take formerly tested on island versus fresh nuked soil.
Fair. We'll take the lesser of two radiations.
Basically. But anyway, it wasn't a terrible movie. Just the weakest. Still a good romp. If people are saying, "Hey, should I skip this movie?" I'd say no, don't skip this.
No,
just to go to Fury Road.
Not.
Not skipping it. But I do think that it's fun, but it's less fun than some of the other stuff. And it's funny too because of it being less brutal, you think it would be more fun. But when it comes to some of the types of brutality, not all, but some of them, you could still give like a little bit of a fun gross out with the brutality. And more importantly, just with how over the top the villains were, it seems like Auntie is like super duper chill. Even being a villain, she just seems super chill. Where when you look at Toe Cutter, first of all, the fucking name, Toe Cutter, and you look at the Ayatollah of Rock and Rolla, it just seems like everything is just chilled the fuck out in Bartertown in a sense.
Right, comparatively, yeah.
Comparatively, yeah. Anyway, I just want to thank you all so much for listening in. As always, don't know where you're listening in. If you might be listening in through our Those Guys on the Radio YouTube channel, you might be listening in through our iTunes, which you searched up Those Guys on iTunes and you found us in all of our archives. Or you could have gone to our Blog Talk Radio account, blogtalkradio.com/Those Guys on the Radio, and found all of our stuff there. We got a bunch of different links to a bunch of different stuff. We got a Patreon, patreon.com/TG Productions. You can go over there to see all the different tiers of that you can either give to and what you can claim as a reward from them. You can ask us to do a bunch of different types of shows on our Those Guys on the Radio channel, but also on our Those Guys Play channel where we do different gaming content, and also on our TG Productions YouTube channel. Got a bunch of different podcasts as well. If you want to get some of the audio versions of those different podcasts, like the newsier ones, like Keikaku Corner, where Tristan and I talk about, and some other Those Guys Play members as well, or Those Guys members, talk about different news like anime, manga, comic book, stuff like that, nerd stuff. You can get the audio version of those over at the Patreon, or watch the YouTube clips on our Those Guys on the Radio YouTube channel, or if you want to watch Toku Station, where I talk about different tokusatsu news clips and things like that, you can see that over either at our TG Productions YouTube channel, or again, go over to the Patreon. You can get the full audio versions there. So thank you all so much again. Love that you guys help us be us. Thank you all so much for watching, listening, whatever way you're getting this. And hopefully you tune in next time for something completely different. Will it be Friday Night Movies, or will it be on a Saturday? Who knows? Who knows? Well, we record these in advance, and then they come out when they come out. Not in blocks, not in crazy blocks. We haven't done Mad Max in a while, but we do record them in advance. So it's always, so I never want to like give something away, and then all of a sudden it's like, no, but it's not coming out. Crap. I said that. We've done a lot of Toonami TIEs recently, though. I'll say that much. That's something I can say out loud, because most of them are out, if not all. Question mark. Anyway, so love you all. Say goodnight, Tristan.
Return to the podcast dome.
Return to the Thunder Guys.
There you go.
There you
Good night,
go.
everyone.